know my parents loved me, stand behind me come what may. I know now that I'm ready, for I finally heard them say, you can dish it, you can take it, just remember that you've been told. Now it's a different world, it's a different world, it's a different world, than where you come from. Ooh, than where you come from. Here's our chance to make it. If we focus on our goal, you can get shot, you can take it. Just remember that you've been taught. It's a different world. It's a different world. Ooh, it's a different world, yeah, than where you come from. Trouble in my way. He shall find me. Sometimes I have to find some time. He shall find me. Lie awake at night. He shall find me. So many sleepless nights. The below be wrong. Yeah, below be wrong. The breakers may guide. The breakers may guide. I shall not sway. I shall not sway. He holds me fast. Yeah. He holds me fast. It's a different world. 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 I was sinking deep in sin. Very far from the peaceful shore. And the master of the sea. I despair and cry. Then he picked me up. Then he turned me around. And then he placed my feet on a solid ground. He'll save you. He'll raise you. He'll heal you. He'll build. It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world. Hey, than where it come from. Yeah, yeah.
So you got me here, they can come and watch us here. They gotta leave us alone. Say you love it, what you gon' do now? Hope you're ready, cause I'm really about to put it down. Girl, you know that I will never disrespect you. We love tomorrow, but tonight I wanna spank you. That ass count, gotta make it last down. Start off slow, then I'ma beat it up. Hate on me, but no. Try to say stop when the beat say go. There you go again, that voice is watch you make your girlfriend go. Come on, come on, come on. You've been waiting patiently, wondering when and where I be. After causing ruckus in the industry, making this so she can't sleep.
Oh yeah. Hislaine Maxwell, you're dirty. You're dirty, 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 dirty. Not only, shout out to the Dream Team and everybody here. I'm just here to let y'all know that Hislaine Maxwell's dirty and giving you an update of what's going on. Some things happening around the world. Now that the devil's wife is on trial. They said they are projecting her to be on trial for 6 weeks. Today is day number 2, and all hell has broke out in the world. I tried to tell people what was going on a while ago. I said, get off Twitter. Go to Getter, Gettr. I said, get off Facebook. Go to We Got Ups. Or go to LinkedIn. I said it. YouTube holds the monopoly of making money right now. So everybody using YouTube to make money some kind of way. And so is Patreon. But I must tell you, Facebook, what is that other joint? WhatsApp, Patreon are ran by the same person. Twitter have its own separate entity organization. Got it. YouTube have its own separate. YouTube and Patreon have their own separate. So, we had R. Kelly on trial. That was highly scrutinized. When nobody knows the truth. And we've seen how the media turns people's image about a person. I got a question. Last night I showed you in the video how Kyle Rittenhouse, how his case could help R. Kelly. I received some slack. People got mad, but I speak it to where it's truth. Self-defense is self-defense. I don't care what color you are. But Hislaine Maxwell is not receiving half of the publicity that Robert Sylvester Kelly is having. Overseer Chris Burton, what's up, bro? I need you to share. Overseer's here. I gotta get with you when I get off here today, man. I gotta send you some pictures for the flyer. So Hislaine Maxwell is not receiving half of the scrutiny that R. Kelly is having. And we know that Hislaine Maxwell, we know that she has done everything that everybody's saying she's done, right? But if I tell you it's a 75% chance she's going to walk free, would you believe me? If I tell you it's a 25% chance that she's going to be convicted, would you believe me? Now remember, I'm bringing it here first. It's a 75% chance she's going to walk free. It's a 25% chance she's going to be convicted. After hearing what I heard, and I'm about to let you hear it, I want y'all to tell me, what is your take on all of this? Shout out to everybody that supported me on the new show that I'm on for my man that's on TV One. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get feedback for it. But like I say, Aaliyah's here. Shout out to my folks in New York that's up there. Aaliyah's here. She said, I think she's going to get time served. Well, nobody asked a major question. Queen B said, yes, I would believe she will walk free. Big Boss said, just coming in, they don't know what's going on. I said, okay, here's what I said. Hey, Ann, everybody's here. I said, Hislaine Maxwell is on trial. The media is nowhere near spinning that narrative that she's a predator, that she's guilty, they ain't saying none of that. I said it's a 75% chance that Hislaine Maxwell will walk free. Aaliyah said she thinks she's going to get time served. I said it's a 25% chance she's going to be prosecuted. But nobody asked the question, why do you believe that, Dana? One, I tell y'all since ain't nobody gonna ask, I say it myself. One, the media is not spinning the narrative for her to be convicted. Two, the higher ups, thank you, Willie, is not going to let their own go down like that. Three, the most important victims were not allowed to press charges against Hislaine Maxwell. Look for the now Leah's in there. She said they don't want the truth to come out. It's way too many celebrities involved. Now watch this. The celebrities and everybody in the higher upper people, the upper people, the upper pedophiles, they are not to be mentioned in this trial. But when Robert went to trial, everybody came out the woodwork. Trade lightly, they know you for Facebook blocking you. Hey, I don't care about Facebook. I don't like Facebook anyway. You can always catch me over on We Got Ups because I'm going to run the same story tonight. So, I'm going to let y'all hear just what's being said. It's going to freak you out. Watch this. It's going to freak you out. Check this out. Oh, no, I got to put it down here. Cover that up. Here we go.
Hey, Cam, what's on your radar?
Well, while the world focuses relentlessly on the new COVID variant, rising gas prices, and Biden not wearing a mask in Nantucket, something else is happening that would otherwise be getting front page coverage. The trial of Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. The names and strange connections to this case continue to pile up, and I'll reveal the latest coincidental connection and big name attack.
Do you see who name is at the bottom? Uh-oh.
At the end, you'll have to wait for it. But first, let's go over a primer of the trial that will be taking place over the next, what they estimate to be 6 weeks. The trial begins today in Manhattan. Maxwell faces 6 charges directly related to sex trafficking and exploitation of underage girls. If convicted of all 6, she faces up to 70 years in prison. She also faces 2 counts of perjury, but those charges will be addressed in a separate trial that's yet to be set. So let's go over the 6 charges she faces in court today. Count 1. Conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Count 2, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Count 3, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Count 4, transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Count 5, sex trafficking conspiracy. Count 6, sex trafficking of a minor.
I got a question. Where the man at? Where's the man at? Why ain't the man act involved with this?
I would say those charges are not good for Ghislaine Maxwell, but these charges do span over a 10-year period of time between 1994 and 2004 and involve 4 different victims, though we know there were likely many, many more. This particular court case only involves these 4. The indictment states that Ghislaine assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. Basically, what the prosecution will be presenting is evidence that Ghislaine prepared these minor girls, some as young as 14, to engage in sex acts with Epstein. The young girls were enticed and recruited by Ghislaine and eventually would be groomed by Ghislaine to engage in paid sex acts that were labeled as massages. One victim accuses actually Ghislaine herself of participating in group sex with Epstein and the victim. These events would take place all over the country in Epstein's various residences, including Palm Beach, New Mexico, Manhattan, and even in Ghislaine's residence in London. Now, the victims, who are all now adults, will not be named in court. They will instead be allowed to use pseudonyms or their first names only. And this takes us to the topic of names. With so many powerful people connected to Jeffrey Epstein, which big names are we likely to hear in court? Well, probably no one's. That's right. We're likely to hear 0 powerful names dropped or implicated in this trial. Now, why is that? Because of the victims who have publicly dropped names, the prosecution left them out. There are no charges against Maxwell that involve any of the more well-known victims. For example, Virginia Giuffre, the most well-known of Epstein's victims, is not included in this trial. Giuffre is the one who claims she was trafficked to Prince Andrew. She also claims she was trafficked to New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, former U.S. Senator George Mitchell, lawyer Alan Dershowitz, modeling scout Jean-Luc Brunel, and billionaire Glenn Dubin. Now, why is she not included in the trial? Well, it's unclear. She says Ghislaine Maxwell was heavily involved in her exploitation, but for whatever unknown reason, the prosecution didn't bring up any charges related to Giuffre's case. Another victim who appears to be absent from the trial is Sarah Ransom. Ransom accused Epstein of raping her and accused both Epstein and Maxwell of recruiting her into their sex trafficking ring and lending her out to their friends, including Alan Dershowitz. Most importantly, Ransom was primarily stationed on Epstein's island in the Caribbean and would have seen and possibly interacted with the various influential people being flown on and off the island on Epstein's private jet. People such as Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, perhaps. In an interview with CBS News, Ransom stated, Ghislaine was Jeffrey's right hand, the lieutenant of the whole pyramid. She made sure we all stayed in line, that when we were called to his bedroom, that we went. However, in 2018, Ransom settled a case with Epstein and Maxwell, so it's not looking like she's included in the trial. Now, this takes us to a big name attached to the case that we'll be hearing a lot of during this trial, and that's Comey. Not James Comey, but his daughter Maureen. Maureen Comey is one of the 3 lead prosecutors in this Maxwell case. Maureen was also a lead prosecutor in the Jeffrey Epstein case before he allegedly killed himself over 2 years ago. She also worked on another Epstein-related case, that of Nicholas Tartaglione. Tartaglione, a former...
Hold up. Did y'all catch that?
In this Maxwell case. Maureen was also a lead prosecutor in the Jeffrey Epstein case before he allegedly killed himself over 2 years ago. She also worked on another Epstein-related case, that of Nicholas Tartaglione. Tartaglione, a former cop in quadruple murder, was assigned to cell with Epstein and claims that he tried to help Epstein after he was found unconscious with marks on his neck, allegedly attempting suicide. But Epstein's attorney said he didn't attempt suicide, that it was Tartaglione who roughed him up. Later, Epstein was placed on suicide watch, and we all know how well that went. Now, if Tartaglione sounds familiar to you, it's probably because Ryan pointed out last week that Tartaglione's defense attorney is the same one now representing Ghislaine Maxwell. So Tartaglione, who was accused by Epstein of roughing him up, has the same defense attorney as Maxwell, who's being prosecuted by the same prosecutor who went after both Epstein and Tartaglione. If that doesn't confuse you enough already. One thing that I really want to bring up on this is that, in a district attorney's office, there are typically, especially one with the Southern District of New York, you're probably looking at hundreds of prosecutors, and they usually are assigned a variety of different types of cases. So a prosecutor would work in a division such as grand theft, or work in homicide, or work in sex crimes. So for this particular prosecutor, Comey, to have worked on Tartaglione's case, which is a quadruple homicide facing death penalty, and also now working on sex crimes of Epstein and Maxwell, it is a little bit, it's like, you couldn't find someone else out of the hundreds possibly prosecutors that you may have in the office. So there's a lot of, we're seeing a lot of just connections with this case that are, making people kind of our heads spin. And of course, with this case beginning today, no one is allowed in the court. We're not going to see any press coming from it. People are camped outside the court waiting for any updates, but that's all we're going to get. So, just this kind of adds more layers to it. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this?
It also speaks to our fraudulent meritocracy, that the children of the elites getting all of these different advantages and then believing that they're getting them through their own merit. One thing that the Tartaglione case and the Maxwell case and the Epstein case have in common is that they're all getting covered in the news. Now, the Tartaglione case was a bigger deal in New York than it's not a global case like Epstein and Maxwell, but it was a big deal. This is an ex-cop, with a quadruple homicide. That's the kind of thing that the New York Post and the New York Daily News are gonna go wild with, throughout the course of the entire thing. So the way you rise through the ranks of prosecutor is by getting these high-profile cases. Every prosecutor wants these cases for that particular reason, so that Comey's daughter gets Epstein, Maxwell, and Tartaglione. Suggests that either she's the greatest prosecutor that they have in there, or there's there's politics going on that is enabling the daughter of Comey to be given these particularly plum assignments.
Or this just adds more layers to
and it does
what
that
already,
too. And it does that too because it keeps it all
forward.
centralized within this ring of extremely powerful people.
Right. I mean, and there's just a lot of conspiracy theories already around this case. And it's like, why add to it? Why couldn't you just find other people to handle it?
They should, but they could find someone else named like Clinton or something, or an unrelated Clinton. We swear. Would anyone believe that? Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah. So we'll see how this case how this plays out. But of course, the prosecution, the defense team is saying, Maxwell is just being dragged through all of this because she's the only person that they can get because Epstein's dead. But she was heavily involved in this.
I guess they're not going to get Dershowitz for the defense either. but so he's not that accuser you just explained is not going to actually be part of the case, right?
That's what it's looking. It's looking at this point like the accusers that have actually dropped names. None of them are involved in this case, and it's not just that they aren't testifying. There weren't any charges brought up that were pertinent to their accusations. So again, that raises more questions. Like, why was it that it was just these 4 victims? Why did they not include these other victims who've come out in the spotlight? There were at least 3 other victims that are not included in this. So, why is that? Why did the prosecution?
Do you think it could be the benign explanation, right, is that prosecutors did not find their claims credible or did not think there was enough evidence or there was some reason for them to not trust everything those accusers were saying and so then not want to go in that direction, or they thought it would just be more or they're making political considerations like this will be more difficult or more fraught for some reason. So, but we'll probably never know that.
Right, but then it goes to Kim's point that if you have one of the prosecutors is the daughter of James Comey, then she's in that social circle who would want to protect people in the social circle. I mean, that is certainly what you could plausibly deduce from that. Yeah,
this nepotism is not good. It's not good.
Well, it depends on who. It's good.
It's good. It's good for the nepot. It's not a word. Just made that up. Anyway, thank you, Kim. We'll have more Rising after this.
So, y'all see how the elites protect the elites. All of a sudden, Comey's daughter is the head prosecutor, right? And the 4 women were left off the case. Why? Because one of them implicates both of the Comeys. So the daughter said, oh no, I take that one. I'm going to protect my daddy and my uncle. That's what my granddaddy would want. And that's what she did. But the crazy part is everybody is allowing it to happen. I've never, in my 40 years of living, I've never heard of a sequestered trial. Nobody can go in. No news people, nobody. So when I hear people say our constitutional right is to go in because we're reporting, evidently that's a lie. So now I'm going to go look that up. Because now you have a sequestered trial. Which means nothing can come out in PACER. Nobody can go in and report. You only got people standing outside. And secretly, Ghislaine Maxwell did an interview from behind bars with an Australian news reporting team. How? That's my question. How? Then to make it even more worse, let's go here. Let's make it worse for y'all. Because a lot of y'all still don't believe the connections. On the first day of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, the CEO of Twitter resigned, the CEO of Walmart resigned, the CEO of CNBC resigned. But this is just a coincidence, right? This is just a coincidence that the top dogs have all resigned and vanished. When you look at Mark Zuckerberg assets, gone. When you look at the Twitter CEO assets, gone. How are they moving billions and billions of assets like that? And this has to be a government person that's running this from the inside, because they won't give a name and say from 404_not_found. So my nosy tail, I joined his group or her group, and I'm following a group. And what's in that goddamn group? Oh my Jesus, diggity doggy Christ. After seeing what's in this group, I believe Jesus is coming back probably tonight. Because see, when people say we conspiracy theorists, oh no, you're a conspiracy theorist. You got this going on. You believe this. Oh my God. Is it safe to say that anybody that believes the government is a conspiracy theorist? Because the government ain't do nothing but teach you how to lie. Now, from the inside of that group, here's what you got. It's coming from the CIA. So whoever's running that group is a powerful person. And it says anonymous. And this is even dated back to last year, November the 10th, 2020. So that will be 1 year and 20 days ago. But it just came out today. I get the back date, it throws everything off. I get it. So people would think that this came out, whatever. So it says CIA here. I was in a couple threads yesterday. Basically, Trump won. Wait a minute. If Trump won, how did this come out last year? Make it make sense. That happened the beginning of this year. Basically, Trump won, and right now we are in the deal-making process. Essentially, a small group of upper elites will be left alone, but all the smaller fish getting thrown under the bus. Big people coming out of conference rooms in tears and freaking out. Lots of deals being made as people who previously thought themselves as immune are discovering they are not. Boss is also getting disappeared. What in the world? So I can post this and no one will care. Right now, I'm on bathroom duty, code. So bathroom duty must be a code word for the upper echelons to look at. Look out for the mentions of roses in the news in the next few days. It's a signal that key elites have vanished. Roses is not intended to inform anyone in the MIC, but rather confirm their knowledge through their own medium in case of false intel. So as I scroll down, it says, got then yesterday as well, but I knew less at that time. The next one say, not LARPing announcements will be made next week, as Trump tweeted. He is pissed and wants to be named president again ASAP. You don't really think litigation could occur in a week, do you? Motions take longer than that. Just the front while behind the scenes business goes on. You won't hear about the arrest though. Last one to say, won't be able to reply anymore. I have to get back on duty and bring an asset now. Thank you to all for listening to me. Figured you deserve to get a bite since you did help make our favorite meme, Dr. Pavel. I'm CIA. We call each other big guy on assignments now. Be on the lookout for Trump Thanksgiving plans. He will not have it in Florida. Biden is the turkey. Wow. Wow. That right there is crazy. And when stuff like that start happening, thank you, Vi. I believe that now we are in the cleanup phase. I believe now we are in the cleanup phase. Let's go here. I'm going to go over some charges of Hislaine Maxwell. And I just want to know what y'all think. Okay? Charges against Hislaine Maxwell. Conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Coercion or enticement of female. Conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Coercion or enticement of minor female. Sex trafficking conspiracy. Sex trafficking of children or by force, fraud, or coercion. Where's the Mann Act? Where's the RICO Act with this? Count 1. Conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Count 2. Enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Where's the Mann Act? Right, where's the Women Act? The Woman Act. Shoot, where's the Sex Trafficking Act? Conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Wow. Count 4. Transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, sex trafficking conspiracy, sex trafficking of a minor. So, she got all of those, right? But I got some questions. Why that news anchor say allegedly locked up? I mean, allegedly he killed himself. If you're a news anchor, you can't have the word allegedly in your resources. So my question is, why are you saying allegedly? Is it something that you want to tell us that we don't know? Is it something that you want to tell us that we the people don't know? Why is Chris Comey's daughter allowed to prosecute this case when her uncle and her daddy is part of the case, but she intentionally left out the 4 victims or the 4 accusers until they be labeled victims, the 4 accusers that are bringing charges and dropping those names? Somebody said, well, maybe they didn't find them credible. Well, how did y'all find everybody that testified against R. Kelly credible? Because in court, we found out that none of them was credible. So I'm just trying to figure out. Aaliyah said she already told us. Well, I got a problem with Upper New York Police Department. Because what if I told y'all that they were part of a sex trafficking ring? So he what? So he pace trail and assume a new identity. Oh, so he escaped trial and assume a new identity. Right. So what if I told you that upstate New York Police Department is part of a sex trafficking ring? Tell me, what would y'all do if this was your daughter? I'm going to give you the background real quick. It says, police got caught sex trafficking kids. A mother in the neighborhood lost her daughters, and police refused to put out an Amber Alert. So she tracked her cell phone to their house, and a couple neighbors went with her to the house, and shots were fired from inside. When police showed up, they tried to block the street while they escorted an unmarked van and loaded more than a dozen handcuffed teens and children. The inside of the house was full of bloody mattresses and children's clothes. This need to be addressed ASAP. If you was a parent, or if you was a guardian, what would you do if your kid was in this house and you walked up on this?
I'm a fine.
For real, fuck these motherfuckers.
Yes. He got the whole look.
Oh, they dragging somebody out the back.
He got the what's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, move with me so my battery won't die.
Yeah, I'm coming with you. Fuck that. Bring his ass out. It took y'all long enough.
Right. Watch, buddy. Watch, buddy. I'm coming through here.
I got you.
They should just let us whoop his ass, dog.
Bro, I swear, if we rush their ass right now, they can't stop nobody.
Oh, they done pulled the van up to the door so they could sneak a shit out.
Hey, that's
They
some
sneaking
bitch
shit
ass
out.
shit.
They sneaking shit out, dog.
Put that nigga on display. Put
Show that nigga
motherfucker
face,
on
dog.
display now.
Show that nigga face. My shit got blurry as a motherfucker. Clear up, iPhone. Oh, they sneaking niggas out, dog. They sneaking niggas and bitches out. Look at all the motherfuckers coming out of there, dog.
Hey,
Look at all the dog.
hey.
Hell no. Hell no. That van don't need to leave.
It's kids coming out in handcuffs. They all in that van. It's kids coming out in handcuffs.
Hey, make way for the camera. Make way for the cameraman.
They snuck these mother.
I'm going to play it again for you.
I'm a fine.
I'll play it again for you. What would you do?
Yeah, for real. Fuck these motherfuckers.
Yes. He got the whole look.
Oh, they dragging somebody out the back.
He got the what's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, move with me so my battery won't die.
Yeah, I'm coming with you. Fuck that. Bring his ass out. It took y'all long enough.
Right. Watch, buddy.
They not trying to let the mother nearby.
I'm coming through here.
I got you.
They should just let us whoop his ass, dog.
Bro, I swear, if we rush their ass right now, they can't stop nobody.
Oh, they done pulled the van up to the door so they could sneak a shit out.
Hey, that's
They
some
sneaking
bitch
shit
ass
out.
shit.
They sneaking shit out, dog.
Put that nigga on display. Put
Show that
motherfucker
nigga
on
face,
display
dog.
now.
Show that nigga face. My shit got blurry as a motherfucker. Clear up, iPhone. Oh, they sneaking niggas out, dog. They sneaking niggas and bitches out. Look at all the motherfuckers coming out of there, dog.
Hey,
Look at all the dog.
hey.
Hell no. Hell no. That van don't need to leave.
It's kids coming out in handcuffs. They all in that van. It's kids coming out in handcuffs.
Hey, make way for the camera. Make way for the cameraman.
They snuck these mother.
Now, the outcome of this was the whole community got together and burnt that house down. But Every adult that came out of there was part of upstate New York Police Department. Sad. And they took over, I believe they said it was over 220 kids that they snatched out their house. 17 of them was on their period with no pads, no nothing, and they were being molested by these police officers around the clock. Parents, it's not ODing, it's not wrong to make sure your kids' tracking is on if they got an iPhone. If they have an Android, it's a new feature called Find Me. You make sure that's on at all times, even when the phone go off, the feature don't go off. It sends a beacon to the satellite, so you will always find that phone. Thank God the mom was thinking, and it tracked back to that house. The crazy part, I don't know if y'all got to see what the van looked like, but it looked like an old regular van. So at the end of the day, mothers, fathers, it's okay to want to know where your kid's going. It's okay to go meet the parents of the kids that your kids staying the night over. It's okay to call and check on your kid in the middle of the night. When you get that shaking in your stomach, you better not second guess it. Call and check on your baby. Even though they might be teenagers, that's still your offspring. That's not your child. That they are not your children. They are your offspring. You're going to learn that in the coming days. Why I choose offspring. Let's see. Let me look at some of y'all comments. Queen B, and I'm going to go backwards. Queen B said, I believe this. I feel there are secret operations going on every day in this disgusting dark world. Oh, yeah. Come on over to We Got Up Tonight. I'm going to show some stuff that's going to freak you out. U.S. Army 88 said it's all run by the Freemasons. There is a Masonic lodge in every town, city in the U.S. Everyone in charge is a Mason. Wow. I didn't know that. See, we learn stuff over here. I'm learning something new. I didn't know it was a lodge in every city, but I thought almost every city, but you said every city. Wow. And Huff said, my daughter will get tired of me because I always check on mines, and she's grown. I still want to know she's all right. Facts. I would rather my child to get upset with me or to get tired of me versus my child feeling like I don't care about her and something happened to her. She's right, okay. Every town and city. Wow. I appreciate you, U.S. Army, for enlightening us. Oh my God, sad. Unbelievable, sad. She went down here. Leah said, "Yup," from over Facebook. Shout out everybody that's on in Facebook world. Jesus, wow, shaking my head. Yeah. What the? We already know what that means. How sickening. Yeah. Oh yeah. Shaking my head. Wow. Big vibe. Look. If you've seen them already, it's no need to say hi. Shaking my head. This is awful. Thanks, Willie Jones. Nah, the police would have had to shoot me. Thank you, Aaliyah. Exactly. They would have had to shoot me because I'm going in that door. Like it's police kidnapping kids in New York. Yep. What is this we're looking at? The Mann Act is a white slavery law. Okay, so if the Mann Act is a white slavery law, why can't Ghislaine Maxwell get the Mann Act? She's not white. She's British. Look into the Dozier School. You're the second person that told me to look at that. Aaliyah said, wait, what? They have found 100 bodies of kids at the Dozier School in Florida. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that tonight. We definitely going to talk about that tonight. Amen. Yep. I'm a Mason, but we don't do nothing like that in our lodge. Ronell, question. Could you call in? Here's the call-in number. If you can call in, call in. Because I believe you must be Prince Hall. What's up, bro? That's another one. They was overprotective of me when I was coming up. I was a prison guard, and everyone in charge was a Mason. I watched the warden and everyone in charge come out of the lodge. Most leadership in the military are Mason's top, too. Wow. So was Colin Powell a Mason? She is a part of the elites group. Facts. I agree, Queen B. Because she's not white, so why couldn't she get the Mann Act? I don't know. Ron, if you can, call in on this number right there to my right, to your left. The 678 number. Because I want to know. Like this stuff intrigues me. Like, I really want to know. It's sad. Because anytime you got to traffic kids, it's sad. And, I just don't understand. Why traffic kids? It don't make sense to me. Leave the kids alone. Leave all kids alone. Kids should be off limits. That's how I look at it. Kids should be off limits. You shouldn't be trying to talk to a kid. You shouldn't be trying to mess with a kid. Kids should be. You shouldn't be trying to do none of that. You shouldn't be doing none of that. And if you do mess with a kid, I think you should burn. I think you should burn. So check it. If you look at the top, of my adrenochrome, right? But that's when they shake the kids, scam, and then cut them, and they drink their blood. If you look at the top of my chat box, you'll see I posted Miss April Shower's page. She really would like if people would go and support her. Her page is very cool. She's a diverse older woman. She speaks her mind. And she speaks from the heart. She a very cool person. Very cool. Trust me, this lady, I got into an argument with her when I first came on, when I came back to the YouTube scene, and I started uncovering the R. Kelly thing. Me and her got into it, but we straightened it out, and she's a great person. When I say she's a great person, she's a very, very, very great person. So, just hit the link at the top of my community chat and just follow her. That's all. She just want new people to come, cause she tired of the old people that's messy. So she want new people that she can talk to, and they don't be messy, and y'all can have open dialogue. That's all. Rona. My brother said it's a part of rituals. Okay, expound on that more, T. U.S. Army 88 said adrenochrome. Facts. Darlene Williams said facts. Okay. That's Miss Darlene April Page. HTTPS /youtube.com/channel/UCGVZT2 XAYZSCVEU9TUHYOT_A. Shoot, I sound like Mike Epps. Duh. I'm talking about a UC, a GV, a C2, a XA, a YZ, a SC, a duh. I had to throw some craziness. U.S. Army 88 said lower level Masons have no idea what the higher levels do until they rise in the ranks. So is it safe to say that once they get 33 and a third, they become upper echelon? And because I thought once you get 33 and a third, then you go to past master or postmaster. And then you go to past master. And then from past master, you go to worship master. And then from worship master, I don't stop following it, so I don't know. That's my guess. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I know a little bit about Masons, but I don't get into that Masonry talk. I mean, I know what a conclestine is. I know what a Prince Hall is. I know what a Scottish Rite is. I know what a free ancient intercepted is. And I know what a Freemason is. My brother said, it's wickedness in this world. And if some people are a part of the wickedness, they have to perform certain things to prove your loyalty, etc. Wow. So, I mean, you got to do rituals and stuff just to show that you're loyal? That's crazy. I believe the sacrificial rituals to Molech, I think I'm saying it right, Molech, is the motive behind all the elitist abuses inflicted on children. We'll further research into this topic. Please do, Queen B, and let's go behind the scenes and tackle this, because I got some stuff that I'm going to do anyway later on tonight when I talk about the craziness some more. No, Dana, you don't have to be 33rd degree to become none of that. So hold on, Rona. Wait a minute. So basically, all right, because my stepdad is Prince Hall, right? And I thought he had to be 30. I mean, he went to 33 and third. Now he's trying to be a past master. So you don't have to follow the chain of command or the chain of ranks to become the top, and you can just skip past all of the blue houses and the red houses and all that and just become a worship master. Ronald said, I'm Prince Hall. Okay. Yeah, my stepdad is Prince Hall. Marlock. Okay, Flame. Marlock. Okay. I'm going to look at that. You run on saying Prince Hall. Okay. See, and that's what a real Mason is. He's saying what he is. But I mean, by him saying he's Prince Hall, he have a charter. And you don't see him being a conclestine. Can't nobody challenge him and try to put his light out and without him knowing his stuff. All depends on your lodge you serve in. Okay, question, Ronell. So what if your lodge don't have a charter? You're a conclestine then, right? I wish I had my brother Tony Russell on here, man. Because Tony will break it down. This is crazy. Hold on, ads are broken. Oh. What's cracking, Tyree? Victoria said right, Ron. Victoria, and you must be an Eastern Star. That's crazy how I know certain terminology. I thought about masonry, but I don't know. I love it for the structure though. I do. Oh, you know something. Okay. Well, he said, hey, Tyree. When I was in massage school, the day before I graduated, my instructor showed the class a book called The Secret. Yeah. Now I'm about to go look that up. I am about to go look that up. The Secret. Okay. U.S. Army said, my Little League baseball coach was a high-level Mason. He's locked up now for molesting kids. Was also a police officer. Wow. That's crazy. Miss Diva said, I'm an Eastern Star. Okay. Shout out to Miss Diva and the Eastern Stars. Shout out to the Prince Hall Masons. If your lodge don't have a charter, then you have to join a lodge that had a charter. Okay. So question. What if you don't join the lodge that have a charter? For that mean you're a clandestine, right? For that mean you're a fake Mason. Terrence Jackson. I have heard of that book. Queen B, you heard of that book? Okay. My brother said, check it out. Gotta get back to work. Love you, bro. Love you back. Call me and get off. Donnie Williams, wow, that's deep. Very deep. That's very deep. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's really going on. Hey, Willie. That's definitely. But look, that's the end of the Hislaine Maxwell story for today. We got 6 weeks, and I'm bringing you updates every day. No, once a Mason is always a Mason. How? So, wait. So even if you're a clandestine, you're still considered a Mason? If that's the case, why do Masons put clandestine lights out then? I spend a lot of time in the library pulling books. I am a nerd. No problem. I think they're gonna go live today about 4:30 with the Hislaine Maxwell. I guess the prosecution lawyers be coming out just like they did R. Kelly. I'm gonna stay near the computer because if that happens, I am gonna be. It's 4:13. All right, I will be. Hold on, let me check something real quick. I will be bringing that live. Let me check something out. Oh, snap. There is an update. Hold on. There is an update. So Jeff Epstein pilot testified yesterday. But there's an update. Check it out.
Room in New York. Good afternoon, I'm Erin Guy, in for Tiffany Kenny.
And I'm Mark Kelly. Thank you for joining us for WPBF 25 News at noon. Now, it is day 2 of this federal sex trafficking trial in New York City. Our investigative reporter, Terry Parker, has been there in Manhattan following this case, joining us now live as the trial now continues into day 2. Terry, what were all the highlights?
Good afternoon, and today we're hearing from a true insider. This is Jeffrey Epstein's former pilot of 30 years, and he's describing Epstein's lavish lifestyle accompanied by Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as his ultra luxurious houses, both in Florida, here in Manhattan, Paris, as well as in New Mexico. So the pilot, Larry Visacki, started talking about exactly how long he worked for Epstein and what happened when he was working there. He said that Epstein was a very big number 1 in the organization and Ghislaine Maxwell was number 2. He described Epstein's 10,000-acre New Mexico ranch, his Paris apartment, and his private island in the Virgin Islands. Prosecutors showed a picture of a very young-looking woman who was Maxwell's assistant, and pictures of Epstein's planes all the way up to a Boeing 727 with a round couch inside. Visacki says he remembers flying the witness that prosecutors are calling Jane. He says that she looked to be a woman to him, even though prosecutors say she was 14 at the time. And under cross-examination...
Stop. Hold on. Do y'all find it funny that in R. Kelly case, there was a woman named Jane that was the main attraction? Now in Ghislaine Maxwell case, a woman named Jane who's the main witness in this one. Do y'all find that funny? Well, let's finish before I go back to comments.
Says he never witnessed any sexual activity on the plane and absolutely none with any underage girls. The government is doing a good job of showing jurors, many who are not familiar with this case, of exactly how much money Epstein had and the ways he could get away to all of these private places. They're trying to show that that's where he and Maxwell abused all these young girls and took them back and forth on these private planes from one residence to another, and that would be part of the trafficking charges. So he's on the stand right now. Testimony continues all day. This trial is expected to last 6 weeks. Live in New York, I'm Terry Parker, WPBF 25 News.
Whoa. Whoa. Ronell said, I can only tell you so much, Dana, my brother. Right. I understand. I agree. I love the library, Victoria. And I thank you, bro. Are you going to speak on the Jussie Smollett case? Yes. Can somebody keep me updated to when it's happening? I'll cover that too. What about the Smollett case? What's going on with that? I don't know. I don't have no updates on that. Exactly right now. All these witnesses will now show up and claim Epstein did everything. Right, because the name Epstein is dead and he have a whole new identity. Ronald said, shout out to all my Eastern stars. Ms. D said, shout out to you too, my brother. Wow. That's what's up, man. That's what I like to see. Togetherness. That's what we're about. Nothing but togetherness. Let me see if I can get something else. See if I can find another update. Oh. 41 minutes ago.
Welcome, Facebook, to this special edition, the StreamYard edition, and special coverage of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial taking place in Manhattan right now. Of course, Ghislaine Maxwell is being purported to be the right hand to now deceased former financier and billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. And so in many regards, as many of my colleagues who have covered this from this story from the very beginning says, this is really round 2 or part 2 as we unpack this very sad and sordid story. But it's taking place right now in Manhattan. And I want to welcome in right now, as part of our panel here, legal defense attorney Michelle Suskauer, very familiar to our audience. Welcome, Michelle. Thanks for being with us. Also, the former president of the Florida Bar Association. Appreciate your time. I know you guys are really busy. And of course, my esteemed colleague, former investigative Contact 5 investigative reporter, my sidekick for so many years, and has gone on to do tremendous things at the national and international level, Tim Malloy, now an author and a novelist and a documentarian, and pulling in all kinds of awards, and we just are very proud.
Forward. Thank you.
I do want to mention as we get started, and we'll talk a little bit more about Tim's contribution to where we are right now, but in a very real way journalistically. Tim was one of 2, I would really say, 2 journalists that from the very outset, the very first inkling that this story was unfolding really in South Florida, right under our noses, Tim Malloy was one of the guys, one of the journalists across the country who sunk his teeth in and never, ever let go. So in a large part, we're sitting here on this day because of the work and dedication and your journalism. So
very generous to say that.
You're a credit to our profession. Thanks, Tim, for being here. But it was a Herculean task to get Michelle Suskauer and Tim Malloy on a schedule that we could do this for you guys. And I'm so excited to be able to kind of cover this because really, this is a remarkable day. It is an incredible trial. It is a day that so many young women who have claimed to be victims of this international Ponzi scheme, this human trafficking Ponzi scheme, they have waited for years to be inside a courtroom and sharing their story, and that is happening actually right now. So before we get started, a jury has been seated. Jury selection, opening statements have already occurred. We are now into testimony. Michelle Suskauer, our first question goes to you. With a story like this, with incredible international interest, how is it that you would find 12 jurors to seat and try to seat an impartial jury? This sounds, I can't imagine another trial that has this much notoriety internationally. I can't think of one.
I mean, it's true. And we've seen a lot of very high profile cases over the years, and juries have been seated. But you can imagine hundreds of potential jurors were sorted through and were cut. And so it's possible there was a jury that was seated of 12, and actually, I believe, I think 6 or 12 alternates, because this case is scheduled to go for at least, I guess, 6 weeks. And so things can happen. But it's not just, have you heard of this? Because of course, how do you not hear of this? It's, have you prejudged it? Can you be fair in listening to the evidence in both sides without having made a decision ahead of time? Because, you know, we're all coming in with our own life experiences, but have you prejudged this? And so they were able to seat a jury, and we will see what happens.
Interesting. And as Shannon said, this is Act 2, and it's Act 2 of an American tragedy, a story unlike anything you and I have ever seen. No, there's never been anybody like Jeffrey Epstein. There's never been an appalling string of crimes like this on an industrial scale, to our knowledge, ever in modern day. Nobody that connected, no one that evil. So it's really interesting, and a lot of it's on Ghislaine Maxwell. What happens next?
And so her defense team, interestingly, Michelle, I was trying to figure out how would they defend this. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and certainly innocent until proven guilty. That's the way our justice system works. But there has been a lot of evidence reported, covered over the years, and there's a lot to defend in this.
It's very, very challenging. Certainly, it's very challenging in any kind of case to defend, but especially in this case. And so what we learned from the defense's opening statement, and the opening statement is not evidence, but it's sort of it's a map as to where they expect the evidence to go, and laying their groundwork, their puzzle pieces. And what they've said is, look, Ms. Maxwell is a scapegoat, and the real evil person is Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein is not here because he took his own life, and they want someone responsible, and so it's going to be Ms. Maxwell. So again, pointing the finger in any direction other than at her. And they're also going to be pointing the finger at the 4 women who are going to be coming in under, by the way, pseudonyms. And they're going to attack their credibility. And that's a very, very dangerous tightrope to walk on, because a jury can really turn on you if you're not doing that right. And it's very tough. And they're going to bring in at least one expert to talk about possibly false memories, and that their memories have been corrupted over the years by being questioned over and over again, by being having all kinds of information that they've been exposed to. And so that's what they're going to do here.
Money, manipulation, and memory. That's what the defense mentioned in opening statements. They'll build their case on, Tim.
And how far can you throw Jeffrey Epstein under the bus, Michelle? I mean, isn't that going to be part of it as well, that she was brainwashed, and certainly is far more innocent than anybody's claiming in court? They're going to throw Jeffrey under the bus.
They're going to say that, they're going to say that she was a victim as well of him. And that she was manipulated. He was a master manipulator. Certainly he can't speak for himself. And that she was used by him to sort of, to do his bidding. And she's going to be pointing the finger at him. Absolutely.
Just a quick reminder to our panelists and everyone out there watching, this is a live flow right now. We're taking your questions in the comment section. So if you have a question or a comment for our panelists, novelist and documentarian Tim Malloy, former Contact 5 investigator who really was at the heart of breaking this, and legal defense attorney Michelle Suskauer, former president of the Florida Bar Association. Thanks so much to the two of you for being here. As we move through this 30 minutes or so, I want to get really quickly to all of those who may not have heard of Jeffrey Epstein, which is hard to imagine, but perhaps you don't know the track record and how we have arrived at where we are at this very moment. Let's take a look at a quick timeline. It'll walk you through and shoot you out the other side on where we sit right now in Manhattan.
Epstein is dead. His ashes here in Palm Beach Gardens, about 20 miles from his Palm Beach mansion. A college dropout, Epstein spent 2 years teaching, then turned to finance. He managed money for the super rich like Les Wexner, owner.
Hold up. What? His ashes where? Hold on. Hold on.
Palm Beach mansion. A college drop.
At this very moment, let's take a look at a quick timeline. It'll walk you
Something
through
ain't right.
Shoot you out the other side on
Somebody lying.
In Manhattan.
Epstein is dead. His ashes here in Palm Beach Gardens, about 20 miles from his Palm Beach mansion.
The Palm Beach mansion was destroyed. So how's the ashes there? And they never had a funeral. They never had no type of cremation. Nor have anybody pulled his trust funds. Wait a minute. Okay.
A college dropout, Epstein spent 2 years teaching, then turned to finance. He managed money for the super rich like Les Wexner, owner of Victoria's Secret. In those circles, he became friends with the rich, famous, political elite, even royalty.
I was recruited at a very young age.
It's a past riddled with claims from then young teenage girls like Virginia Giuffre, who said they were recruited.
Hold on. U.S. Army said that's why Epstein was suicided, so Maxwell can escape even though she was the Mossad. Right, U.S. Army.
For Epstein, a sort of pyramid scheme of sex crimes. But in 2008, local and state prosecutors cut a deal with Epstein.
Unfortunately, both the state criminal justice system and the federal criminal justice system failed the victims miserably.
10 years later, Epstein was arrested again. On July 18th of this year, he was denied bail, and a month later, put on suicide watch. On August 9th, more than 2,000 documents were unsealed, scathing depositions and affidavits with alleged victims and witnesses. 1 day later, August 10th, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell.
And so now it is, to your point, Tim Malloy, somewhat round two, if you will, for these women, the alleged victims in all of this, their day in court now as they turn their eyes toward Ghislaine Maxwell and her involvement.
And she's now been in prison, a federal prison, which I've been to in Brooklyn, which is a dump for a year, and she's not committed suicide. She is a tough cookie. She's having her day in court, and as you said before, the young women, who were girls at the time, finally get a voice. I mean, the drama inside this courtroom right now must be remarkable.
So let's talk about that, because you were there in those first few weeks as the Jeffrey Epstein case was set to go to trial.
Right.
You were inside the courtroom,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And you reported from the streets, as of course leading up to what we've been told was Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. So did you hear the girls' testimony in these victims' testimony in court? Because the judge did allow that after.
I did not hear the one in particular that you afraid. On the street, though, they were walking around talking to us.
Sure.
And I had actually interviewed a few of these girls, women, back when. So I knew what they were going to say and what they were facing. It was the craziest thing to cover in history, and you and I have covered a lot of stuff, 50 cameras. I've never seen anything like it. And then you throw in all the victims, alleged victims, walking through the camera crews. Total chaos in New York. Same thing's happening up there right now. It is high drama.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and it's important that the voices are found.
And it kind of, when you think about right now, some of these women who
I
have
agree
brought
with
this
Queen Bee.
case in the state of New York against Ghislaine Maxwell for her alleged involvement in building this human trafficking pyramid scheme is how I've really used to describe what it was, because girls were paid to go out and find other girls and bring them to Jeffrey Epstein vis-a-vis, they allege, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yep.
And so that is what she is on trial for, is being a conduit to Jeffrey Epstein and this international.
And they will
human
specifically say, this woman sitting over there, Ghislaine Maxwell, is the person who told me to go do this.
Right.
And then she was there when this happened to me, meaning the girl.
Correct.
So they're going to have, there'll be finger pointing, and it's going to be, boy, I'd like to be inside right now.
Michelle, how powerful is that? I mean, as you're a defense attorney and you're sitting there having these, they were girls, now women, on the witness stand, pointing across the courtroom saying, she told me that if I came to this house, my college would be paid for, I'd get a car. And again, the defense attorney set up, we're going to talk about they wanted money. These were money grubbing women or girls, that they've been manipulated, that the press has, spun this up to be what it was not. And so how do you defend it?
I think it's really hard.
Wait. Did y'all hear that? Here we go again. Why wasn't the press attacked for R. Kelly? Look at this.
That they've been manipulated, that the press has, spun this up to be what it was not. And
so now the news media are attacking the press for Ghislaine Maxwell and for Kyle Rittenhouse. But for R. Kelly, it was all fair game. Let's make it make sense.
So how do you defend it?
I think it's really hard. As I said before, when they have to really take apart their testimony, and they have to attack their credibility. The question is, how do you do it? And how do you do it so that you're not re-victimizing them and creating more empathy, more sympathy for these women? And that's what they have to do. And it's going to be very tough to listen to, but they are going to have to absolutely disassemble everything that these girls said, or say, fine, yes, you did X, Y, and Z, but it was Jeffrey Epstein. It wasn't Miss Maxwell. No, you didn't have direct contact with Miss Maxwell. No, you had contact with other people. But again, the government's going to be saying this did not work without Miss Maxwell. She made it all work for Jeffrey Epstein.
When you were covering this at the granular level, Tim, and I want to get to that setup real quick in just a moment, but when you were covering it at the granular level, really following, being intrigued by these reports that were trickling in, and let me just pause and say, for those of you who are new to our audience, our viewing audience, this really galvanized this community. Because there was an entire generation of young girls, and a lot of the recruiting happened right here. And we're not talking about a few or a handful. If you go through the FBI archives of people who were interviewed, there were Hundreds?
Well,
of
yeah,
girls?
60 in Royal Palm Beach at least, and that's just one little community.
Right. And in a generation of young women out of Royal Palm Beach were really affected by
And
this.
typically,
Right, U.S. Army.
middle class kids, and I don't mean that any other way other than they didn't come from money.
Right.
And we're enticed over, want to give a rich guy a massage for $60, rub his feet, come over the bridge into this fabulous mansion. And he would take it from there with Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly saying, here's how it works. This is what he likes. I'm standing here, do this.
Did you see her in your company? Because I know so much of that interest for you as a journalist.
I never have seen her. And it's funny, I live over there, and I know a lot of people who know her and know her and who are stunned by all of this, and they're pretty vocal about it. She was a real fixture, more in New York than Palm Beach. And he was not seen that much in Palm Beach. He was behind the big hedges most of the time, for obvious reasons.
Again, if you're new to this story, as we cover and we continue following this this trial taking place in Manhattan today, Ghislaine Maxwell facing 6 counts. 4 women have come forward alleging that she was in some way, form, or fashion involved in building and recruiting for this human trafficking Ponzi scheme, if you will, that was international in nature. If you're just new to the community, let me take you back just a bit on how this kind of began. The story began to unfold, and it actually started with a tip that came in to WPTV News Channel 5 and my colleague Tim Malloy.
I remember this place.
This is where it all started.
It's one of the nicest newsrooms I've ever seen.
It really is, isn't it?
The backstory, the behind the scenes that led to Filthy Rich.
It's good to have you back.
Tim Malloy, a former News Channel 5 anchor and investigative reporter.
It's over there.
You were over there.
Yeah, we did a bunch of stuff. Water.
Yeah, the water.
Cancer cluster.
Cancer.
A little bit.
Yep.
Years later, Malloy.
This all sort of started in the Palm Beach Grill, just chatting.
And world-renowned author James Patterson would team up.
No, we can't do that chapter. That's not going to work.
Throw a eraser at me.
That'll never work.
The driving force behind Filthy Rich, a tell-all on Jeffrey Epstein.
Filthy Rich is about a billionaire arrested for molesting underage girls. He served just 13 months in prison. Me, I'd throw the book at him.
It really started right here in this newsroom.
Yeah, I was actually sitting at my desk and I'd gotten a call from a kid who said he was at Royal Palm Beach High School. And there was an older guy that the young girls were going to go give massages to.
The caller, Malloy remembers, said the teenage girls were traveling, often across the bridge to Palm Beach, to a mansion and being paid big money for their visits. But the caller suggested there was more going on inside that mansion than massages.
He was pretty emphatic, and he said he'd call back, and he didn't. Didn't take his name because he was a kid. And I started asking around in Palm Beach where I lived to a police officer friend, and he vaguely implied there was something up. But eventually I learned that there was a high-profile person they were looking at over there or something. And the implication was it was sexual.
Malloy started talking to everyone he knew on Palm Beach.
And then I found out kind of where it was. So I would drive by the house.
Malloy couldn't confirm it, but quietly there was a very active Palm Beach police probe of Epstein, one of the most secretive and well-connected men on the planet.
But it was somebody at the Post first got wind of an investigation, and I believe named him first. I immediately kicked myself and say, why wasn't it me? Because that's what we do when we don't get the story ahead of somebody else. But then it kicked into, wow. I'd actually seen him around town at a restaurant or two. I used to see him riding bicycles with young girls over near the Colony Hotel.
And did that fuel it for you?
Well, yeah, because you just knew that this wasn't one or two victims. One or two victims would have been enough, but you knew it was something bigger than that. I mean, and of course it ended up being on an industrial scale. There was this
Hey,
TikTok
U.S. Army,
to it,
you're
and we
right.
gotta
I bet
stop
they
it
won't
now.
say
And of
not
course,
one name.
I was aware of that. Yeah, it's like trying to grab somebody before they go off a ledge. Don't let this happen to this kid, you know.
Epstein, with homes not just on Palm Beach, but in New York, New Mexico, and the Virgin Islands, was now facing a string of serious charges in Palm Beach County. He was in town often, fending off the allegations, everything from illicit acts on a child to molestation. Malloy wasn't the only one tracking the jet-setting billionaire.
John Connolly was an investigative reporter for Vanity Fair, and a great one. He had called me because he had, I guess, vaguely heard that I was doing this, and then we became good buddies. And he knew a lot about Jeffrey because he'd been sort of watching him forever. So John was into the forensics of this thing and the finance. He was a lawyer and a former New York City detective who became a writer. I ended up interviewing him a few times during this case, put him on our air here, your air, Channel 5.
In fact, Malloy remembers well. It was right here in our studio, anchoring a newscast, when he had his first brush with what many called the intimidating and dark side of Jeffrey Epstein.
We were just talking about being a much younger, more youthful
Sorry,
state,
it's okay.
and when we were doing that coverage. But basically, what happened was he touched down and called you while you were on the set, and demanded to speak to you while you were on the air.
Yeah, we were. Shannon, incidentally, just quickly, had a lot to do with covering this as well. I had an earpiece in because I was anchoring the news, as you do when you anchor the news, and the producer, one of the guys who said, Jeffrey Epstein wants to talk to you. I'm sitting there in a commercial break saying, I'm on doing anchoring. What does he want? And I won't use the language he used, but it was basically, he wants you to get your helicopter away from this airplane.
Because you were shooting with a lens.
He didn't want to have his video taken, and of course, we got great video of him because he was never seen. We stuck with him. That was just fine with us.
And again, you didn't see Hislaine Maxwell necessarily with him. So Michelle Suskow, we're bringing you back into this as we try to piece this together for our audience. Again, we have so many new folks who've moved to our community in the last year or two, so we want to bring them up to speed on what has transpired in our community and how this plays a very relevant, part of the landscape, of the news landscape here in Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast, South Florida. That really this plays out in the courtroom, Hislaine Maxwell, that may be one of the defense's strategies is to say she was rarely seen with them. How is that a play?
Absolutely. It's minimizing her role in all of this. She didn't know, she only did so much, but he took it from there and went so much further. And that, Jeffrey Epstein lied to her. I mean, again, her defense is going to, be able to throw out as much as they possibly can, and Jeffrey Epstein cannot answer. So, any conversations that, if the court permits it, that she's allowed to express if she testifies or if other witnesses that she wants to use, again, pointing the finger directly at Jeffrey Epstein, at anyone else, hurting the credibility of the girls the women that are going to come in, which is just 4 out of a tremendously large number. And that's what she's going to do.
Would be pushing the envelope too far for them to actually suggest Stockholm Syndrome. Yes, she loved him. He betrayed her. And then she fell under his captivating spell because he was quite a charming guy, apparently. I can't imagine it. Apparently he was. I mean, is that a play too, possibly?
Sure. Or again, they were in, I believe in a relationship at least at some point.
14 years.
And she loved him. She would do whatever he would say. Again, trying to minimize her responsibility and knowledge of everything that he was doing because she had blinders on and basically was manipulated to do whatever he told her to do. Is the jury going to buy that? I don't know.
Larry Vysotsky was Epstein's longtime pilot. He was on the stand yesterday as they wrapped the day, and then again this morning. Yeah. And coming out of that, you were struck by what?
Well, he was the captain of the 727 Jeffrey Epstein flew around the world with, everybody in it, and including young women. And I want to ask Michelle eventually about the Mann Act because they apparently were taking girls to an island outside this country. Anyway, how much did Vysotsky know? And he said he had no idea other than the celebrities who were on the plane, which, I'm not an attorney, but I've been flown private maybe twice in my life, but everybody in a private plane knows who's getting on. They have flight logs, manifest, and he would know who these people were. So I wonder if that's a pretty thin testimony or whether that hurt him or helped him. He was a defense witness or was he a prosecution? I'm sorry, I should know that.
The pilot is a government witness.
Yeah, government. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right. And but again, it's how big is the plane? Who's coming on, who's coming off. People talk, and it would be hard to believe that he didn't see something that was going on. You bringing young girls, young teenagers to a variety of different locations, including his private island in the Caribbean. Come on.
How much good that would do, I saw nothing. I just don't buy it. Right.
No, I agree.
Because we can all sit here and say what we think, but what do you think about this jury and what you know about them, Michelle? I mean, are they going to buy that?
I don't know what has been released about this jury, and I haven't seen the breakdown, and that's something that we can talk about moving forward at another time. And I don't believe that they're releasing these jurors' names. They're keeping so much confidential in terms of protecting them. But again, you don't leave your common sense at the door when you're a juror. You're asking, do not prejudge, but you still are coming to a case with your own life experiences, your intelligence, and this jury has been vetted. So from hundreds and hundreds of individuals who, may have had pre-existing biases. So again, what's realistic? What are they going to believe and what are they not going to believe?
So they moved on from Vysotsky, and then they began calling and I keep calling them girls, they are now women.
Yes.
But we refer to them as such because the alleged abuse took place when they were as young as 14 years old. I believe the first person on the stand was 14, she said.
Yeah, Michelle went up to Jane Doe, number one, is the first one to testify between the ages of 14 and 16. She said she was repeatedly molested by Epstein and also by Ghislaine Maxwell in New Mexico and in New York City. So there's your powerful testimony coming right out of the blocks.
And that's right. And that's who you're going to start with right away. You're going to start with your strongest testimony, your strongest witnesses. You're not going to start with someone who's iffy and on the fence and is able to, have lots of holes punched in their testimony. You're going to start with your strong witnesses, and you're going to have that 1-2 punch right away. And then you're going to end that way as well. And that's their trial strategy, because that's, primacy. You're going to start with your strongest. And if that's their strongest out of 4, that's who they're starting with.
So you said that was Jane Doe number 1?
One, yeah.
And then who are we expecting next?
I think it's 3 more, right, Michelle, at least?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they'll pepper it. But again, remember, 6 weeks, and this judge runs a very tight ship, and she's going to be going, although there's breaks during the day, they could be going for 5-6 hours a day at least in order to get through everything. And giving this jury breaks as well, and giving the lawyers breaks as well. There's going to, so that's who, I guess only 4. But that's the best that they have, and that's who they're using in order to convict her.
It was very telling, and to your point, Michelle, about running a tight ship, this judge, there were a number of times that Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team ran at this judge and asked for her to have bail set. There were, of course, the dismissal, was right out of the gate, and that was denied, of course, but because of the preponderance of the evidence that was presented. But then this bail or, what have you, and it was all denied. He said, no, you're going to stay under lock and key until we get this done.
Oh, well, absolutely, because, I believe they found her in New England, right? Yeah. Did they find her in New Hampshire?
They found her in New Hampshire.
And so it certainly wasn't that she was broadcasting who she was or where she was in hiding. And so based on her resources, they felt that she was a significant flight risk based on what she'd be facing, which is the rest of her life in prison if she's found guilty. They kept her in. And so I don't think it was outrageous or unreasonable to do so. Certainly her family wanted her out, but they did not feel that it was safe for her to get out so that she would actually come in and face the music and face the charges. So they've kept her in since 2020.
She's got 3 passports, English, French, and U.S. She's got at least $25 million. She was married to a guy, I don't know where that went. I want to quickly ask you a question about the attorneys. There's a guy, Everdell, who I believe was the guy, he was a prosecutor, federal prosecutor, went after El Chapo. That's one of her defense attorneys. I may be wrong.
Homie's daughter will make sure nothing to incriminate.
Quickly, another guy, a Denver attorney, when we were writing the book 6 years ago, he was after us, James Patterson and myself. You better not.
That's
lie.
why I believe they did a sequestered trial.
Years.
Wow.
So she's been lawyered up. Michelle, I want to ask you about this. You got to figure she's had lawyers working on this since Jeffrey died, or maybe even more.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this does not come as a shock to her that she was going to be on the radar. As soon as these girls were interviewed, these women were interviewed, her name is out there. You all have been showing multiple photographs of the two of them together, photographs of not only the two of them alone, but photographs of very notable folks where she's in the picture. So this is not new or strange. So she's had lawyers who were in the protection business to make sure that, that she was, and hopefully, to try not to have her indicted. Obviously, that did not work. She was indicted. But, certainly when Jeffrey Epstein is under the radar, you are going in and you're potentially meeting with the government in the hopes to maybe not get indicted. Or to minimize the damage to you. So I don't have any information that absolutely happened. I'm just guessing based on my experience, that's what you do in order to try to avoid being indicted here. But there was no avoiding it, and she was and has been in custody since 2020.
Let's talk about the charges. She's facing 70 years if convicted. Is that correct? 70 years,
Yes.
I believe, is what.
Right, the rest of her life.
Let's talk. Yes, let's talk about those charges, Michelle. Walk us through them.
Sure. So, so she's charged with 6 counts, I believe. One of them is enticement of a minor to commit criminal sex acts, transportation of a minor, a sex trafficking charge, and 3 counts of conspiracy. So, any one of those convictions, she would be facing a significant amount of time in prison, but all together, back to back to back, she's facing the rest of her life in prison. And so the government has to prove each of these charges. They have to prove every element of every charge, and they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense does not have to prove anything. They don't have to put on any witnesses. They don't have to say a word. The burden is 100% on the government, and it's the government in this case because it's a federal case as opposed to a prosecutor or state attorney, but they're the same. It's the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York that is prosecuting her.
Michelle, everybody asked me because of this book I did with Mr. Patterson, and
So time out. If the government, if the defense don't have to say a word, if everything is based on the government, how was R. Kelly prosecuted when all of that stuff was destroyed in court? See, this making me wonder some things.
because I've covered it. Does she have any bargaining shifts? And if she does, can that work? How much could she cut off a sentence? Or have we heard the names of all the high-profile people who may or may not have been involved? Most of them not. Do you think they? Sorry for you to crystal ball this. Do you think they got some names they can play for less time?
I think the time has come and gone for that.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
I do. I look. You know, nothing is done and over until the jury comes back and the verdict is read. Pleas can happen, but they want her. They want her, and they want her convicted, and they want her to spend the rest of her life in prison. But I would think that the time has come and gone for her to play that hand.
Interesting. They didn't get Jeffrey. Jeffrey checked out. I mean, they got him, but they didn't get what they wanted from Jeffrey.
Right.
They wanted the
They
swallow
need,
the
but
out. Yeah.
and that's what they're going. And that's part of the defense. You couldn't get Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, and you are using Miss Maxwell as a scapegoat. That's one of the main driving points of this defense. It's him you wanted, and it's not. And this is sort of second best. And and that's what they're going to say.
Tim, you've been page by page through the detailed police reports from the Palm Beach Police. I mean, every single painful detail. It really was painful to read those police reports, the interviews of the young women, the teenagers at the time. And you flipped through the black book.
Yeah, actually, I had it.
You had the black book.
There were copies floating around.
And so, Michelle, you're saying you don't see, looking forward, a window here that this isn't going so well. This is, we're going to lose in the final hours that she could come through and say, I'll turn on all these folks.
They could. Things can happen. It could happen. However, I just think that the time, it's not like she just had the names now. I mean, she's known who's been involved for as many years as this has been going on. And so why wouldn't that have happened already? So I just think that it's too late now. They want a prosecutor, but again, crazier things have happened. This is a crazy case, as Tim knows, as you know, Shannon. Things can happen, but I just think that time is probably come and gone. They've impaneled this jury. They've started this case. They have a very strong case, the government, and they want her, and they want to have some closure, for, if possible, for these victims.
So just to take it a sillier step even further, could there be a videotape of somebody out there that they could, you guys have discovery, so that the other, both sides have to know what's coming, right? There's not going to be a surprise, dramatic movie ending to this thing with somebody walking in with a videotape or pictures of somebody.
I don't think so. No, I think that this is what it is. You have these girls, they believe that they're incredible, these women, that they're credible. They putting all the pieces together. This is how this worked. This is how the trafficking scheme worked. This is how the pyramid scheme worked. And that Ms. Maxwell was an integral part at making this all work.
Your final thoughts, Tim, as we wind down.
Well, you know, after writing this book and covering it, I thought I'd never want to talk about this guy again, but I'm fascinated by this case, and I'm not proclaiming her innocent or guilty, but there's, boy, you're going to see some drama in the next 6 weeks. And the fact, as you said at the top, the fact that these women who were girls, some of them 12 years old, get to say something finally, and the world hears it is really maybe the most important thing here.
That they have, that their voice is being heard inside a courtroom, not communicated through the press.
Right.
But they're in a court of law, and that they're able to tell their story, however this plays out. That is significant, unbelievable moment in and of itself. Michelle, your final thoughts as we go to close.
I want to hear from the girls, the women. I want to see. I want to see. I think it's incredibly brave when to come into court to tell these painful stories. But I'm jury trials are, you never know what happens. There's no rhyme and reason. We can't get into the heads of these 12 jurors. So I'm fascinated, as the rest of the world is as well.
Michelle Suskauer, appreciate your time. My colleague.
My pleasure.
Nice to see you again, Michelle.
And
You
thank
too.
all of you in the audience who've joined us, jumped in. We are reading some of your comments. Some of them aren't appropriate to share. You can see them in the column. We'll go back and take a peek at, but we have been watching him stream in, and many of you, concurring in one way or another, or dissenting, which is really, we appreciate the feedback, and thanks so much for joining us. We will continue our gavel to gavel coverage of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial taking place in Manhattan right now. We'll continue that coverage on air on WPTV News Channel 5 beginning at 5. Thank you so much once again for joining us for this special StreamYard edition of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial in New York. Good afternoon.
Man, this is crazy. This is crazy, but I'm gonna be honest with you.
What if every time someone swiped their credit?
FBI already cleaned up the video evidence. Yeah. Yep. I'm wondering if it is a trial, because Amari Mackey said the same thing. I'm wondering if it is a trial. I'm wondering that too. Put it up there. I'm not going to lie. I question if there's even a trial. Yeah. I want to know. I want to know what they in there talking about. Because this just don't seem right. Like a sequestered trial where nobody can witness nothing. You can't even put them on open docket. Like, I'm lost. There's no court reporter in there. There's nothing. You have the defense, the judge, the jurors, the prosecutors. That's it. How can that even be an effective trial? I just don't understand. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't understand. Don't forget, y'all, go like, share, subscribe to Miss April Showers channel. I'm about to get up off here. If I get an update, I will be back with an update. Let's see. Hold on. You know what? Let's go to y'all comments. I want to go to y'all comments. And I'm going to start halfway up. Right there. Shout out to you two, brother. Okay. Wow. The trial of Smollett started yesterday, Dana. Okay, is it publicized? Love yourself. Find out if it's publicized. I'll definitely cover it. Israel hired Epstein to blackmail people. That's why Epstein was suicided. So Maxwell can escape, even though she was the Mossad. Right. Something definitely ain't right. Facts. Dana, it is all a facade to distract from the truth. Right, at Queen B. Those reporters are acting unbiased, but in reality, they are covering for jizz stain Maxwell. I got a question. Did the male reporter look a little jittery to you, like he was nervous about something? Then the prosecutor handling the state's case, and now his girlfriend. Isn't that a conflict of interest? That's a big conflict of interest. You can't do that. Once you realize every news station is owned by the same people, you will see their agenda. Facts. The news situation is different from Mr. Kelly because the powers that be are not pleased with him. He is not a part of the debauchery practices to sustain fame and fortune. Facts. U.S. Army 88, that is correct. The mainstream media is controlled by the powers that be. I bet they won't say the names of the people associated with Epstein. I bet they won't even. Did Epstein have a part in Pizzagate? I don't know. See how they are pinning everything on Epstein? Didn't see Maxwell. Right. I'll just say money talks, and that's how she got to do the interview from jail. Okay. Stockholm Syndrome level up. Comey's daughter will make sure nothing too incriminating gets out. Same with the judge who has been involved with politicians for years. Facts. Our family is rich. There will be no man act. But why not, Tyree? What up, EJ? Moss are the same one. Right, Vegas shooting. Amos Bernadette. There are a lot of ties which have developed into a tangled web of greed and corruption amongst the wealthy elite. I agree. Me too. Have you already cleaned up the video? They won't even let the public into the courtroom. They can supposedly watch it on a... Nope, you can't even watch it on the TV. You can't watch it on nothing. They're not streaming it. They're not doing nothing. Nope. You can't even watch it on the TV screen. Nope. Hey, Zola. And Huff. Lady pleading not guilty. Epstein on that island. Oh, yeah, she pleaded not guilty. Because they're going to cover for her. The reporter was covering for Maxwell. Yep. I noticed the body language. Facts. It was like he was uncomfortable. Or something like that. This is crazy. But look, I'm about to go. Y'all be blessed. I'll be back. All right? 1.